My name's Paul Grogan and welcome to the second video in my How to Play series for Rococo Deluxe Edition, designed by Matthias Kramer, Louis and Stefan Maltz and published by Eagle-Gryphon Games, who sponsored this video. In the first video I explained the rules for the 2 to 5 player game, and you'll need to watch that first before this video so that you know how to play. Click on the little eye in the corner to take you to that video. In this video I'll be covering the rules for all of the expansions, including the jewellery box and the solo mode. The Jewellery Box expansion adds more variety to the game by introducing necklaces and rings that you can rent out along with your garments. There are also new specialised apprentices that provide generous prestige but have brazenly set conditions before they can be hired. And your employees can now complete examinations to acquire new abilities. Set up the game as per the normal rules but with the following changes. Place the jeweller board next to the right side of the game board. Place the jewellery tiles in the jewellery bag and mix them well, placing it to the side of the new board. Each player places one of their trademark tokens in the Journeyman Examination start area. When you prepare the General Employee stack, make the following changes. Before shuffling the level 5 cards, remove the 2 level 5 masters and add them to the 9 new masters from the jewellery box. Shuffle these 11 master cards and place them face down as a stack next to the master examination space of the jeweller board. Then draw 2 cards from this stack and shuffle them together with the remaining level 5 cards to form the 4 level 5 cards that will go into the employee deck. And before shuffling the level 2 cards, remove the 2 Journeymen level 2 cards and add them to the 9 Journeymen from the jewellery box. Shuffle these 11 cards and place them as a face down deck next to the Journeyman examination space of the jeweller board. And then draw 2 cards from this stack and shuffle them together with the remaining level 2 cards to form the 4 level 2 cards that go into the new employee's deck. Shuffle the 10 specialised apprentices and deal 1 apprentice face down to each player, returning any excess to the box without looking at them. You can look at your specialised apprentice at any time, but keep it face down next to your player board. It is not yet part of your employee deck. The game is now played as usual, but with some changes to the phases. In phase 1, prepare for a new round, you also fill the jewellery spaces on the jewellery board, with tiles drawn randomly from the new jewellery bag. From round 2 onwards, first remove any tile remaining on the rightmost space and return it to the box. Then shift all other remaining jewellery tiles to the right as far as possible to fill in any gaps, and then fill each remaining empty jewellery space with a new tile. If there are not enough tiles to fill all jewellery spaces, leave the leftmost ones empty. There are no changes to phase 2, but in phase 3, when players are taking actions, some of the actions from the base game have been changed, and there are also 2 new actions. When you fund a decoration, you can now fund a space on the jeweller board. Each player can occupy a maximum of 1 jeweller decoration space on this board. This will earn you prestige at the end of the game, but is also a requirement for adding jewellery to a garment, which I'll explain next. Tailoring a garment is carried out as usual, and if you sell the garment, the rules stay the same. However, if you rent the garment out, then before you place the garment in a haul, you may acquire 1 jewellery tile from the jeweller board and rent it out along with that garment. To do this, you must have a trademark token on a decoration space of the jeweller board. If you tailor a lady's gown, you can only rent out a necklace, and with the gentleman's frock coat, you can only rent out a ring. You must also pay to the bank the amount of livres shown below the tile. Then you take the jewellery tile and place it face up in front of you. If the colour of the jewellery tile and the main colour of the tailored garment match, you also gain 1 resource tile drawn randomly from the bag. As usual, you must immediately decide whether to keep the resource tile as bales of silk and place it on your resource tile rack, or discard it to gain the indicated thread and or lace. Each jewellery tile that you have increases your income by 1 and earns you 1 prestige at the end of the game. Another action that has changed is hiring a new employee. When you do this, instead of hiring a new employee from the game board, you may hire your specialised apprentice. This is free, but you can only do so if you currently meet their hiring condition, which is depicted here. All of these conditions can be found on page 16 of the rulebook. If you meet the condition, take the apprentice into your hand as usual, and from now on, when you play this apprentice, the bonus action is to gain 3 prestige points. The first of the new actions I'll explain is completing a Journeyman examination. Depicted on the jeweller board are 4 Journeyman tasks. At any point on your turn, if you meet the conditions for fulfilling one of the tasks, mark it as complete with one of your trademark tokens. You cannot fulfill more than 1 examination task per action. For example, if you perform the Acquire Resources action using an apprentice, and then take a resource tile that depicts both blue and green bales of silk, you must choose which of these tasks you want to fulfill. However, you are allowed to fulfill one task with your main action and then a second task with your bonus action, provided that the bonus action matches the required action. The tasks are all explained on the reference sheet. Once you have completed all 4 of the tasks, and only if your token is still in the Journeyman start area, you can perform this action with an apprentice only. You pay 5 livres to the bank and then perform the following steps. First, gain 1 prestige point. Then, if you want to, you may use the employee bonus of your played apprentice as usual. The played apprentice is then removed from the game and returned to the box. Next, take the entire Journeyman employee deck and choose any one of them, placing it in your hand. Return the 4 trademark tokens from the task spaces to your supply, and move your trademark token from the Journeyman examination start area to the Master examination start area. The second new action to explain is very similar. It is completing the Master examination. The 3 tasks that you need to fulfill before performing this action are here, and the rest of the steps are similar to what I explained for completing a Journeyman examination, except that this action can only be performed by a Journeyman and only if your token is in the Master start area. That is, you have performed the completed Journeyman examination previously in the game. You pay 5 livres, gain 1 prestige, use the bonus on your played Journeyman, and then remove it from the game. Then choose a new MasterCard from any in the deck and add it to your hand. You clear your tokens from the tasks, but then you move your other token back to the Journeyman start area, meaning that you can now do this again with another apprentice later in the game. The only other changes to the rules for the Jewellery Box expansion I've already mentioned, which is, in Phase 4, each piece of jewellery you have earns you 1 livre income, and at the end of the game, each one is worth 1 prestige. The Fancy Dresses expansion adds 4 new garment tiles that are more expensive and more rewarding, as well as 5 new resource tiles with new combinations of resources. To play with the Fancy Dresses expansion, simply add the new garment tiles and resource tiles to the appropriate drawbacks. Festivity Dresses adds 4 delightful new garments to the game. Set aside the 4 festivity garments until after you have completed Phase 1 of the first round, and at the end of this phase, add the garments to the garment bag and mix them in well. The festivity garments are tailored just like all other garments, but they can never be sold. However, immediately upon tailoring one, you gain a one-time only prestige bonus as shown on the tile and explained on page 19 of the rulebook. The Expert Tailoring expansion is available separately from Eagle-Gryphon games. It introduces 6 new garments, 2 of which are only used when playing with the Jewellery Box expansion. Each garment gives you a special bonus when you rent it out. Rococo Deluxe Edition has a solo mode that can be played with or without the Jewellery Box expansion. You are playing against Madame du Barry, trying to gain more prestige than her at the end of the game. To set up the game, follow the normal setup rules with the following changes. Madame du Barry gets the usual player setup materials, but she does not get a resource tile rack. Her starting employee cards are placed above her player board, instead of to the left. They will not be used actively during the game and will only count as her employee deck for the final scoring. She starts the game with 1 thread and 1 lace, but no livre. She is also the start player in round 1. In Phase 1, when preparing for a new round, shuffle all 25 of the Madame du Barry cards and place them face down to the left of her player board. This is her card supply, not to be confused with her employee deck. In Phase 2, instead of selecting 3 hand cards, Madame du Barry draws the top 4 cards from her card supply. Place them face down in the middle of her player board. In Phase 3, each time it's her turn, reveal the top card from this pile, perform the action on it, and then place it in her discard pile. Note that Madame du Barry never gains or spends livre, and whenever she is taking an action, if the given action cannot be performed at all, Madame du Barry gains 3 prestige instead. The following actions are available to Madame du Barry. Here, Madame du Barry gains 3 prestige, and also, if the Queen's Favour token is available, she takes it and places it in front of her. Here, Madame du Barry acquires resource tiles depending on the card. On this one, she takes all available resource tiles from the indicated drawer, and on this one, she takes all the resource tiles from the specific space in all 3 drawers. The resource tiles are placed face down in her supply. If playing with the Jewellery Box expansion, whenever she acquires resource tiles during this action, and only during this action, and she is currently preparing for the Journeyman examination, place one trademark token on the topmost matching free space of the Journeyman examination tasks. Once all 4 spaces are occupied, Madame de Barry immediately completes the Journeyman examination. I'll cover this later on. When tailoring a garment, Madame de Barry tailors one garment for free, paying no money or resources. Which garment she takes depends on the card. For example, here, she tailors the second garment from the right, counting only the garment tiles, not empty spaces. If there are fewer garment tiles than the card states, the garment tile with the highest cost is tailored. If using the jewellery box expansion, whenever she tailors a garment using this action, and she is currently preparing for the Master examination, place one trademark token on the topmost matching free space of the Master examination tasks. For the space on the top, she must tailor a garment with a gold thimble. Once all 3 spaces are occupied, Madame de Barry immediately completes the Master examination. The garment she tailors is always rented out, never sold. To determine where it is placed, reveal one additional card from her card supply and place it face up onto her discard pile. Place the garment into the hall highlighted on the card's left. In that hall, choose the most valuable free guest space, and if available, choose a Master space. If multiple spaces are available, choose the space that shows a bonus reward using the following priorities: resource tile, thread or lace, and then livre. If she places a garment on a resource tile space, Madame de Barry gets a random resource from the bag placed face down. She never gains any livre. If the highlighted hall is full, reveal another card until a hall with at least one free space is highlighted. If playing with the jewellery box expansion, the bottom right of the card determines whether Madame de Barry acquires and rents out jewellery along with the garment or not. To do so, she must have already placed one of her trademark tokens onto a jeweller decoration space in order to qualify for acquiring jewellery. In this case, she acquires the least expensive jewellery that matches the colour of the garment, if there is such a tile available. Place the jewellery tile into her supply. And as a bonus for matching colours, she also draws a resource tile from the bag and places it face down. Here, she acquires the least expensive jewellery that is suitable for the garment, i.e. a ring for a gentleman's frock coat or a necklace for a lady's gown, if such a jewellery tile is available. Place the jewellery tile into her supply, and if the tile happens to match the garment colour, she also gains a resource tile from the bag. In this case, she may not acquire jewellery for this garment. When hiring a new employee, Madame de Barry does so for free. The card determines which employee she hires. In this case, the second employee card from the left is acquired, not counting empty spaces. If only one employee card is available, that's the one that's acquired. Add the acquired employee card to her employee deck above her player board. Every time she hires a new employee, add one card from her card supply face down to her hand cards. This means that Madame de Barry will have another turn this round. Important! In the later rounds, if an employee with an end-of-game bonus is available for hire, Madame de Barry will always hire the end-of-game bonus employee that currently brings her the most prestige points, regardless of what is stated on the card. If more than one employee brings the same number of prestige, she will choose the one that currently would gain you the most prestige points. If both are the same, she will take the first of those employees indicated by the direction on the card. When funding a decoration, Madame de Barry does so for free. The card determines which decoration to fund. She places a trademark token on the least expensive unoccupied decoration space of the stated type at no cost. However, if you see this icon on a card and you're playing with the jewellery box expansion, and if Madame de Barry has not yet placed a trademark token onto a jeweller decoration space, then instead of funding the normal decoration, she places a token onto the least expensive unoccupied jeweller decoration space. This allows her to acquire jewellery for future garments when tailoring. Whenever she funds a decoration using this action, and she's currently preparing for the Journeyman examination, place one of her trademark tokens on this Journeyman examination task. Once all 4 tasks are fulfilled, Madame de Barry immediately completes the Journeyman examination. The Journeyman examination works in a similar way to the multiplayer game, except that Madame de Barry completes this immediately on fulfilling all of the corresponding tasks. She does not require a separate action to do so. She also does not pay any money for this, but she does gain 1 prestige. Randomly remove 1 apprentice, except for a level 6 apprentice, from her employee deck and return it to the box. Then secretly add 1 random card from the Journeyman deck to her employee deck, and then add 1 face down card from her card supply to her hand. She will take an extra turn this round. Remove all of her trademark tokens on her Journeyman examination tasks, returning them to her supply, and move her trademark token on the Journeyman start area to the Master start area. The Master examination is similar. Madame de Barry immediately performs this as soon as she has fulfilled all of the corresponding tasks. Follow the same process as for the Journeyman examination, but instead of swapping an apprentice for a Journeyman, swap a random Journeyman for a random Master. Also, remove all of her tokens from the Master examination tasks and move her trademark token on the Master start area back to the Journeyman start area. For the All Halls bonus, as soon as Madame de Barry is represented in each of the 5 halls with either a garment or a musician decoration, immediately place one of her trademark tokens onto the most valuable free space of the All Halls bonus. During Phase 4, collecting income, Madame de Barry doesn't gain any. She is rich enough already. At the end of the game, Madame de Barry participates in final scoring as normal. She can score majorities, score statues, jewellery and so on. When moving dresses from the Royal Hall to the fireworks display on the balcony, do so in a way that gains her the most prestige. In addition, she scores 1 prestige for every 2 resource tiles that she has collected during the game. If you score more prestige than her, you win. In the case of a tie, Madame de Barry wins, of course. I hope you found this video useful in learning how to play the Rococo Deluxe Edition expansions and solo mode. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment if you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions about the game, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you to Eagle-Gryphon Games for sponsoring this video and to all of my Patreon supporters who help fund the channel. Until next time, take care and thanks for watching. Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.